2, 3.
Hello, my name is Bjork, and I'm going to be running through the changing of the string of a guitar. If you like to see, the guitar has been beautifully crafted and laid down onto this beautiful blue sea carpet. So, here's the guitar. And at first, if you want to remove the old strings, you must remove a string on a float bridge and pull the bridge back closer to the body, making the rest of the guitar string go sharp. If you replace and retune the missing string right away, this wouldn't be much of a problem. The guitar will regain its balance, so to speak. But if you move more than one at a time, or replace the old string with one of a different gauge, you can be in for some serious tuning problems, so be very careful with that one. Strings that way are out of tune, or probably detuned, will also displace the tension, putting the guitar out of tune. If you must take all of the string off on a vibrato type floating bridge, use a shim between the bridge and the body to keep the bridge stationary. This keeps the bridge more or less positioned, and you can clean the neck and frets, and then restringing doesn't become a tuning nightmare. If you change the string gauge, you'll just have to adjust the spring tension tighter if you increase the gauge, looser if you decrease the gauge. That adjustment is covered in a little yeah. And then finally putting on a new string. Attach new string require 3-step threading the string, wrapping the string, winding and tuning, and stretching out the string. Threading the string with most electric guitar like this one, you thread the string through the tailpiece, or the bridge and the tailpiece are combined into one unit, the bridge. On some models, such as Fender Stratocaster, you thread the string through the back of the guitar. Others like the Gibson SG have a tailpiece mount at the top of the guitar, although you encounter many variation of both strings through the surface mounted bridge. The procedure for threading the string will be similar. The string goes in the end of a pointy first, a cylinder at the end of a cylinder at the other end fits into the slot into the tailpiece. The ball holds the string in place and prevents it from slipping through. And that's all. But that's all I can explain from this old and Goldie example. This is Bjork. I'm signing out. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, good night, and Freddy Krueger, sweet dream. Running you through the pedal of the guitar, the effect that we can all use for the guitar. I'd like to start off with the first tuner pedal. Best to start off with, as your tuner want to see a strong, clear signal from your guitar. If you put an effect in front of a good tuner, this may compromise the signal your tuner pedal will receive and thus give you an inaccurate tuning reading. The tuner is right here. You can see it come on with a digit and also a light to give you a signal of the gain level. The second one is a pedal, a filter pedal and a tone shaping effect. And they also call this a wah-wah pedal, which is what I thought is a very, very cool pedal actually, because it gives you effects that rely on the dynamic of your guitar tones and should be the first thing your signal see after the tuner pedal. And next over here we have an overdrive, and next to it is a distortion and a fuzz pedal, but I'm gonna go with the overdrive first, because that sort of order, you would go from the amount of drive to the greatest amount and drive. You can get some pretty cool combinations actually. At a low gain pedal can be a great solo boost into a higher gain pedal, but the other way around can often think of disaster, so be careful with that one. Steve, you're looking at that one now, the Green Mile. Where was I? The distortion, of course. Actually, yeah, that's the same with the overdrive and the fuzz. So there was one major exception to the rules of this for the fuzz. Octavias and treble booster, the nature of the design of these effects means that they don't like to see the buffer from another pedal at the input. They prefer to see the guitar pickup. So if you have one of these type of pedals, best to stick with it at the front before any buffers. Next we have a modulation effect. Over here that is called the Assemble King, the blue one right here, the one that's feeling blue much more than we are. These include chorus and tremolos. It can also include flanges, but many prefer them right at the front of the faders. The specific order of a modulation effect is probably the least important, as you rarely use more than one at a time. If you do, is more a sound effect than a tuneful combination. The next we have is a flanger, a phase flanger. This might sound a bit unusual, but try these before your overdrive and distortion pedals. Phasers work so great going into gain stage such as ODs or preamps. Flangers can work great at the end of a chain, but that Van Halen type flanger tone, it needs to go right at the front before the ODs. And next we have a delay field effect, which is right here, the white reverb pedal called Misho. Forgive me if I pronounce it wrong. A good rule of thumb here, if you see multiple delays effect, is to put your short delay before your long delay. Adding a nice drawn out delay on top of a slapback effect can sound quite cool. That's actually quite cool. And finally the reverb, which is right here, the grey one, the shine verb. Reverb is actually a delay effect. Very short delay combined to give the effect of being in an enclosed space. Think about what happens when you shout out in a hall. That's that delay sound of your voice bouncing off the wall. This is called measurement of reverberation time. Glenn will be pleased, ask him. Leaving this effect till last work, well, many different combinations, including clean and dirty sound, and I must also add that once it's bouncing off the wall, it'll come at you, but each sound will actually sound quite weaker, so that's reverb for you. I think that's it really, other than a nice complimentary of the circuit of where each plugin goes, starting with the guitar plugin going into the tuner, and then the tuner plugin going into the wah-wah pedal, and then the wah-wah pedal going into the overdrive, and then the overdrive going into the distortion, and then the overdrive going to the reassemble king, and then this one going into the reverb. Next, I also want to say about the effect loop, and an effect loop is an input and output behind the amplifier over there that enables a user to insert effect between the preamp and the power section of an amplifier.
Ready?
Hello, my name is Bjork, and this is part 2 of Pedal, because our camera sadly died out of memory space, so this has had to be the part 2 of it. But thank you for keeping up. The effect loop is what we are going on with the topic. If a guitarist is using a pedal to achieve the overtone, then there is no problem running all the effect into the front of the amp. Usually in the setup, the overdrive and gain or level boosting effect will be the first in line after the guitar, with the bass and modulation effects coming in after. With the introduction of higher gain preamp that produce overdrive, manufacturers started creating effects loops so that the modulation and time-based effect can be inserted into the amplifier after overdriving channels and before the power amp, thus keeping the overdrive first in line. Originally, amplifiers were built without an effect loop, allowing effects to run straight into the front of an amp. The arrangement is perfect for the guitarist running an overdrive, fuzz, compressor or boost, all for those using amplifiers for clean tone, running all the effects in front. The problem is when the gain channel of amplifier is used for an overdrive tone. In general, time-based effect like delay and reverb and modulation effect like the chorus and fades tend to sound more natural when applied to the signal after its overdrive. As a basic rule of thumb, most guitarists prefer to add modulation to an already overdriven signal. When the modulation is applied before the overdrive, it can lead to a duller sound, or the case of delay, that effect can be washed out. This is Bjork signing out. What I'd also like to say one more thing is that it's very recommendable to hear Jim with a wah-wah pedal, because that gives you the definition, because that gives you a clearer point of view of Jim being